Alrighty, so over winter break, I binge watched all of Wizards of Waverly Place on Disney+, and it turned out they're actually now making a new revival show of it. So I just wanted to share some of my thoughts that I've had recently about how the Wizard competition works and everything surrounding that, because I've been getting a little too invested into it, and I saw a video, which I will link in the description, that kind of complains about some of the workings of it and why they're confused. So this is my response to try to explain all of that. So I will be referencing that video quite a bit throughout here. If you haven't heard of Wizards of Waverly Place, maybe watch their video first, maybe go look it up. I don't know why you're watching mine if that's the case, but I'm just going to jump right into things. So first, we're going to talk about who is allowed to participate in the Wizard competition. Early in their video, they show how Max got his full powers about when he was going through puberty.
It's all you. Hey, your full powers are here.
Now you're in the competition with us.
And I think this corresponds to a Wizard level 3, which they talk about Wizard levels later on in the series. It is shown that the children aren't allowed to participate in the Wizard competition unless they're at least a level 3 Wizard, or level 3 trainee.
Max Russo, you are now demoted from level 3 down to level 1 in your family Wizard competition.
But that's all the way back to the beginning.
And Justin Russo, you have been demoted from level 5 back to level 1.
Level 1? But Max is a level 3. How are we going to catch up to him?
It would be nearly impossible. And it appears most likely that Max Russo will be the next family wizard.
No!
The original video ranted a lot about how these levels don't make much sense, and they question what determines them. It's arbitrary magic points. These points are definitely set by the headmaster of WizTech, Professor Crumbs, or, his employees. In the other video, they question if, these levels and the points are related to how many spells you've mastered or how many lessons have been learned. But both of these things are mentioned at different times in the show, and it's clear that they're not a direct correlation. They don't directly correspond to different levels and different numbers of points. These levels and these points, it's just a matter of whether you're worthy of being a wizard. You earn points by growing and maturing, and as the child grows, their powers develop and grow with them, and then they're able to use their powers better, and they get points from this, and that allow them to compete in the wizard competition. So that explained why Max could finally compete when he got his full powers. Level 3 clearly corresponds to what you need. It's what you need to qualify in the wizard competition, and it corresponds to when you finally matured enough to have your full powers and be able to use them properly. As we're talking about this, it comes up like how many lessons each child has completed, how many spells each one of the Russo children has mastered. So from what I've seen in the show, it seems that they do about a lesson a week. When the Russo kids are going through their training, Jerry, their dad, gives them their lessons, teaches them different spells, and a lot of these episodes take place over multiple days while they're still trying to master a spell. So it's said that Alex has only mastered 100 while Justin's mastered 5,000.
I'm here to congratulate Justin Russo. He just mastered his 5,000th spell, marking end to his wizard studies.
Sir? How many spells have I successfully completed?
Oh, we don't like to keep track of numbers. 200, give or take 100. So 100.
I do think that could be entirely accurate because, if they do a lesson a week to master a spell, that's about 50 a year. So in a couple years, sure, Alex has mastered 100, 200, 300. But, she's forgetful. She's not going to remember all of the ones at the beginning. Has Justin mastered 5,000? Now, maybe that's an exaggeration, but, he's a nerd. He studies in his room a lot. He wants to learn. He wants to be prepared for this competition. So I do think he could have memorized 5,000 spells with how much time he's put into it. And, who wouldn't be trying this hard for the wizard competition? He also probably, started training before Alex, has put in a lot more time to it. So that explains some of the differences in how prepared they are, how much training and spells they've memorized. It's also mentioned at a different point that, how many lessons each of these people have completed, how many lessons Justin, Alex, and Max have each completed.
Oh, hey, guys. Max is trying wizard training exercise number 5. Again.
I can do it. I know I can levitate this can. Levitatus, liquidatus. Ugh, that's bunk. I can't do it.
Don't worry, buddy. It'll happen. Keep working on lesson number 5. And you too. We're on lesson number 372.
That one I think is harder to explain and probably just comes down to how old they are. That one is also possibly just, again, the writer's making an exaggeration, making a joke. But, again, it's possible that Justin's doing his own lessons on his own time through WizTech or through somewhere else that Alex and Max aren't participating in. So, again, I think this is all plausible. Now, back to the point of the wizard levels that I kind of got distracted from. Season 4, Episode 1, Alex reveals magic. Alex and Justin both get reverted to level 1 as a punishment for revealing magic. And the video complains about this or at least questions this, because they question, are they, losing these spells? No, it's that they're not deserving of, these points, these levels anymore. They've lost the privilege of competing in the wizard competition because they messed up so badly. So they need to earn that privilege back to be able to compete to be a full wizard. Max, on the other hand, retains his status as a level 3 because he passed this test. Yes, this is a bit of an extreme test, but this is what they need to do for this wizard competition to prove that Justin, Alex, and Max are all worthy and deserving of being a full wizard. So, to summarize, the wizards gain levels during training by earning points. These points are granted by the Wizard Council based on whether or not they are worthy and capable of being a full wizard. Now, Crumbs is obviously a lot more involved in the Russo's wizard competition because they are some of the most powerful wizards in the whole universe. And this is seen throughout the show as they save the world multiple times. They save WizTech multiple times. So Professor Crumbs really takes a notice to them, and this also explains some of the weird training they go through and how he's more involved in that. So the next topic that the video kind of moves on to that comes nicely is, when does the competition take place? Like, when, at what date does this wizard competition happen? I'm going to go in a slightly different order than the video that I'm going off of here, but it's shown multiple times that the wizard competition is scheduled for a set date in the future. And the hope is that by the time that day rolls around, the kids are ready. And they know when it is, so they should have the time to train and prepare for it. The first video mentions, at different points in the show, sometimes they talk about it being really far away, and then sometimes they talk about it creeping up on them. Yeah, I just want to point out that the show takes place over 4 seasons, so that's why those discrepancies are there. If the competition's in 4 years, it's far away. After 4 years have passed, it's right now. But back to how it's scheduled, once Max has such a commanding lead over Justin and Alex, because he was the level 3 while they were reverted to level 1, he actually has the privilege to change the date of the wizard competition.
Listen, Max, I'm going to let you in on a little-known rule. When you're this far ahead of your siblings, you're permitted to move up the family wizard competition to whatever date you want. You might as well do it now before Justin catches up to you.
And we see exactly how this date is scheduled and when it's scheduled for. And the idea that he's allowed to change the date is kind of weird, but also kind of makes sense, because if Max is the only one that can qualify, and Justin and Alex really have no hope of catching up to him, for a very long time, then he should be the wizard. He's the only one that's deserving. And it's not fair to Max to make him wait years and years and years just for the possibility that Justin and Alex can catch up. I mean, imagine a hypothetical. What, are we waiting for unborn children to come up to wait for them to have the wizard competition? Like, if a kid is born 9 years after the fact, it's unlucky for them, but we can't go back and, retrofit it. We need a family wizard, and they have to pick eventually. Oh, and I will get to later in this video why they need a family wizard. So yes, in the scenario that Max is the only qualifying wizard and the other 2 children are not close to catching him, he's allowed to just get it over with. They also complain this one's fair. When the wizard competition finally happens, Professor Crumbs kind of just swirls in out of nowhere and says that Alex has now performed her selfless act to complete her requirements to do the wizard competition. So they do it, right now. Screw the date that it was scheduled for. It's right now.
Professor Crumbs.
Crumbs! That was a dramatic entrance.
It's just something new I'm trying. I'm still working on the beard in the face part. I understand Alex performed a selfless act without using magic.
A selfless act? All she did was open up a jar of spaghetti sauce and made pizza wrong.
You take what you can get. We've been waiting for this for a long time. You just completed your final requirement, enabling all of you to begin your family wizard competition.
Hey, that's great!
All right, so Professor Crumbs, when does it start? I mean, do I have time to make up for 16 years of hardly paying attention?
I'm happy to announce that the Russo family competition commences immediately.
Yes, a lot of these inconsistencies are the writers might have been lazy. They wanted to get the show over with. But my goal here is to defend this and explain away these inconsistencies and defend my favorite show. So, Professor Crumbs does act a little crazy throughout the series. So yes, the competition was scheduled. And if it was a normal family, they would have just done it on the scheduled date in a normal way. But the Russos aren't normal, and Professor Crumbs can do what he wants, and he's been paying special attention to them. So this selfless act is just one more, hidden requirement that Professor Crumbs has for Alex and for the Russo children, because he wants to be extra sure that they're ready to be full wizards. And finally, once Alex does this selfless act, he thinks they're ready. He's seen that they, are all deserving of being full wizards. And so he wants to get the competition over with. Everyone's waiting to see, out of this most powerful group of children, who's going to actually be the one to keep the powers. Crumbs is the one who runs this. He's allowed to do what he wants here. And normal families, yes, they would wait to the set date, but the Russos aren't normal.
Promise me we'll find normal people.
We're not normal people.
So that explains, at least as much as I have noticed, that explains the scheduling of when the wizard competition is. So next, I'm going to move on to what constitutes the wizard competition, what actually happens, what takes place. The first time we hear about a wizard competition or hear what details are in it is the last episode of season 2, episode 30, Retest. In this episode, Jerry is talking about his past wizard competition, and he says that there was a pencil and paper portion of it, if I recall correctly. Okay, so after the fact, when I was trying to find the clips from each of the episodes, I could not find a clip where it was said that Jerry's test was a pencil and paper test. However, I'm 90% sure that it was mentioned somewhere in the series, and it is confirmed that some portion of his test was pencil and paper. So we're just going to assume that it was at least mentioned, even though I can't find the right clip. Then we see some versions later in the movie that takes place right after season 2. Alex and Justin have a competition where they compete in an open field and have to use spells to race to a glowing ball of magic to obtain the glowing ball of magic to grant their full powers.
It's simple. Whoever captures the power first Keeps it all.
And then finally, the series finale involves a convoluted competition with multiple parts that I will get to later. So yes, all these competitions look different, but there's no reason why they can't be different. It's personalized to each family and what each family needs to compete to show who's really deserving, and it's to test what each family needs to be a successful wizard in their instance. So to start with Jerry's old competition, my guess is that, a paper test, that's the old school way, that's the standard way, that's the easiest way. So that's how most families would do it, under normal circumstances. They take the test, they transfer powers, they move on with their lives. Then we have Justin and Alex in the field.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Ready, set, magic!
Oh, we're going. Okay.
So this one's obviously different, but this is a rushed competition. And Jerry's the one overseeing it because they're doing it immediately where they are. They don't have time to wait. It's what they can make do with where they are. And Jerry has to be the one overseeing it because there's no one else that is a wizard that's with them at the time to be able to oversee it. In any other circumstance, I think you would want someone a little more higher ranking, a professor of whiz tech, not necessarily Professor Crumb's level, but someone who works for him. But they're rushed, so they have to make do with Jerry, who's the only full wizard nearby. Yes, he's a full wizard in the movie because the movie's a whole other ballgame. But the final wizard competition, that's with Alex, Justin, and Max, and this one starts with a game show.
Ladies and gentlemen, here's your host for tonight's Family Wizard Competition, Chancellor Rudy Tooty Tooty!
Oh my gosh, the wizard competition is a game show. I'm really good at game shows, especially when it's a rerun.
The game show's pretty cool. It's entertaining, and I think this is their alternatives to doing a written test because it's the same sense that you're testing their book smarts with trivia questions. But the game show element is more interesting and it can be viewed like on TV because they're a special family. Everyone wants to see what's going to happen to them. So Professor Crumbs needs to make this interesting and show the world what's going to happen to these powerful wizards.
You wouldn't have played with that potion if I hadn't invited you into the lair to watch the wizard competition.
Next, the part is weird when a griffin comes and captures their friends. So Max, Justin, and Alex now go need to rescue their friends from Griffin in the middle of the test.
Harper! Zeke! Wait, can we use all of our timeouts to go help Harper and Zeke?
Hate to be a Debbie Downer, but whoever doesn't get back before time elapses is out of the competition.
Okay, we've saved the wizard world like 10 times. I think we got it.
Turns out this is all a ploy by Professor Crumbs to see what would happen because Alex, Justin, and Max do not get back in enough time to complete the wizard competition, and they're all disqualified, and they all lose their powers forever, or at least that's what they think.
The competition is over.
Awesome. Who won?
No way, we called a timeout.
Which expired. That says the competition for you. You are hereby disqualified.
Alex, I told you we shouldn't have gone. Professor Crumbs, listen to me. There's got to be something we could do about this.
Yeah, we saved 2 people.
What you did was noble, but you were warned of the rules before you left. I am deeply saddened that it has come to this, but the Russo family line of wizards will end forever.
Professor Crumbs.
Your wands, please. This will be the last time we will ever see each other.
We're not wizards anymore.
And it turns out it's a test by Professor Crumbs to see how they would be able to work together and how they would get angry at each other after thinking that they had lost their powers forever.
Professor Crumbs, I don't understand. I thought we were disqualified.
The Griffin was a test. Based on past history with the Russos, we found it necessary to test your sibling bond. When Justin and Max forgave Alex, you all passed through round 2.
So this part is obviously a little weird and unexpected, but it can be justified. We just need to look at what Crumbs is doing. Think of Crumbs wants to test how these kids are handling this stress and how they're going to treat each other in this scenario. Because obviously they're going to get angry if they think they can't have their powers forever. But some of them, one of them, or 2 of them, or however many of them are going to lose their powers forever. So they need to see, Crumbs wants to see what's going to happen when that inevitably occurs. So he needs a realistic way to test that they're not going to all hate each other once, someone loses their powers. And it's called into question, could this have been done in their wizard training? Maybe, but he's trying to make it authentic and he wants to put on a show. So Professor Crumbs is best able to see how the Russo kids will truly act if they really think they've lost their powers and can't compete in this wizard competition anymore. So ultimately, Justin ends up blaming Alex for losing their powers.
Alex just cut down our family tree and burned it.
I told you that I thought we would make it back in time.
And yes, Justin is overreacting. He shouldn't blame Alex completely. I mean, I would also be mad if I thought I wasn't going to be a wizard anymore, but that's a whole other debate. And in the end, they all get to go back and compete in the wizard competition. Now, other video points out, why does Justin get to go back? Like, he's the one who was the angry one. He shouldn't be deserving. But that wasn't the point of the test. It was the point of to see whether they'll all get along. They all need to be able to handle the scenario that they lose. Not just one person against the other. It's the collective. It is almost like part of their training, but done during the test, that if they can't all get along, none of them are deserving of having their powers. And ultimately, Justin does end up realizing that he needs to stop being angry.
You didn't ruin my life. We all did great today. I'm gonna have a good life without magic.
And, he needs to make the best out of the situation that he's in. Otherwise, his life's gonna be miserable. He's not gonna be happy if he doesn't. So, yes, that is why Professor Crumbs has a Griffin come and take their friends and to test whether they'll be able to handle life without magical powers. And then next, they finish the competition, and ultimately, Justin comes out first, and then Alex, and then Max.
It's Justin! Justin is the last wizard standing! Yeah!
And we see how the power is transferred to the winning wizard. So, even though Justin comes out of the tunnel first, he tells Professor Crumbs that it is only because Alex helped him, and Alex really deserves to win.
My sister would have won the competition. She came back to help me. I think you're the one who deserves this.
So, because of that, Professor Crumbs declares Alex the winner. Professor Crumbs, to give Alex powers, taps his wand to her forehead.
Very well. I decree that Alex Russo is officially the Russo family wizard.
This is a special power that Professor Crumbs has. He's the headmaster of WizTech. He's, got authority. He's got these powers that not all normal wizards can do. And then he tells Justin that he needs to step down. Professor Crumbs wants to retire so Justin can take his place.
After 3,000 years of being headmaster of WizTech, I'm officially announcing my retirement immediately.
What, you're retiring?
And because of your integrity and knowledge, I want you to take my place.
But I'm not a wizard.
Well, I think I can handle that. I confer full wizardry on Justin Vincenzo Pepe Russo.
This is Professor Crumbs handing over his powers to Justin, giving his responsibilities to Justin. We know that power is a physical, magical, glowing orb, maybe not physical, is a glowing orb thing that can be transferred between people. And Professor Crumbs has the ability to transfer this. So yes, this power can be taken out, transferred, manipulated. And in the movie, we see that with the glowing orb, how they're trying to reach that magic. There's another episode that we see where Alex gets her powers revoked for being, I can't remember what she did. And she ultimately gets them back, obviously.
But I am returning your powers so that you can train alongside your brother.
And each time, only one kid gets to keep the powers from their lineage, and then Professor Crumbs has to transfer his powers to Justin. So it's all the power transferring like that. Now, there's a different episode with Stevie that kind of calls some of this into question. They have a power transfer station. It's not one wizard tapping a wand, it's a power transfer station. And both kids have to touch it, and then the power gets sucked out of the loser and it goes into the winner, so that the winner obtains all the powers.
Okay, Stevie, put your hand on the power source as if you were about to give up your powers. Hilarious. Say cheese. And...
Quick, now I've got to hit the transfer button.
Power transfer complete.
I'm a full wizard. This is everything that I ever wanted. Plus a visor.
I think this power transfer station it's not needed in the Russos competition, but again, that's because the Russos don't have a normal competition. Yeah, I think if they had a written test and you do a written test and you go to the power transfer station, because Professor Crumbs is the only one that has this ability to magically take people's powers and give it to someone else and give someone new powers. But for normal people, they would need to go to this power transfer station to actually, remove and add powers from people. I also realized slightly after the fact that it is completely possible that they phased out the power transfer station and don't use it anymore on account of the fact that it was nearly melted and overthrown by a revolution of amateur wizards.
Get enough wizards who are behind in their family wizard competition to perform a spell at the same time. Oh, it will melt down the power distributor in the Hall of Transfers. Then, no wizard will ever have to give up their powers again.
Again, the movie where they're fighting over the glowing orb is a special instance where Again, they're on this weird wormhole in their rush competition, and Jerry's running it, so that really can't be counted in terms of what the normal way of transferring powers is. Now, Stevie doesn't like that she's losing her powers at this power transfer station. Now I'm getting into why they need this, right? Because a lot of people are annoyed that Stevie's painted as a villain for just wanting to keep her powers, and people say, why do we need to only have one winner? Why can't they all just keep their powers? So there's a theory that was mentioned that Professor Crumbs keeps the competition so that he can have more power and influence over the wizard world, because if too many people became wizards, they could overthrow him. I don't think that's true. The other video doesn't think that's true. Professor Crumbs isn't evil. He's not being a tyranny over the wizard world. He's not the dictator of controlling the whole government. He just is the headmaster of the school and runs this competition. So, why they have the competition is because they don't get their full powers until they win the competition. This is seen in the movie, where there are spells that can't be done by Justin or Alex until they're a full wizard.
But it says here that maybe one of you can reverse the spell. You have to be a full wizard.
That's why they need the competition, so they can become the full wizard. If you don't have the competition, the powers are split between the siblings, and none of them are full wizards. So you need to obtain the power from your siblings to be the full wizard. Now, it could be argued that, what if they just share it? Instead of one person taking all the power, all the siblings in the family just share the magic, and all live happy being partial wizards. But a partial wizard wouldn't have the powers that to be able to pass it down to their next generation. The power would then disappear, their lineage would end, because only a full wizard can continue passing down their powers. So you need this wizard competition to continue the lineage of wizards, otherwise they'll die out after a generation. The amount of power in the magic world is set from the beginning, and there's only so many wizards, and you can't just make more magic to support a growing population. It can't be passed out to every single kid who wants to be a wizard. And if the kids try to share powers, none of them will ever be full wizards, and none of their kids will ever be wizards at all. So they need this wizard competition. And again, 2 kids in the Russo family keep their powers. Alex will get the lineage passed down from, her family tree, from the Russo family tree, and Justin takes Professor Crumbs' powers. The special episode, Alex v. Alex, at the end of the series, as much as I would like to ignore some of the things in this episode, I can't, as it is part of the series. The one thing that this episode calls into question is when it is shown that Jerry has a cousin who is a full wizard. I don't remember the clip. I know that it was explicitly stated that it is Jerry's cousin and she's a full wizard in the wiki. So that kind of calls into question my theory, because Jerry's grandpa is the full wizard, and then presumably Jerry's dad won his wizard competition, and then Jerry won his wizard competition to get the powers from his dad. But that would mean that, Jerry's uncle couldn't win the wizard competition, and Jerry's cousin wouldn't be able to get the powers from their parent, who is Jerry's uncle. And I think there's a couple explanations for this to keep my theory solid. The first one that I'm going to throw out there is that they're not cousins in the sense that they have the same grandfather. They're not related that directly. They might be distantly related back when the wizard world was started, or they might be close friends who consider each other cousins, like when you call your dad's best friend Uncle Steve. And any other real family that loses the wizard competition might not treat you like family more anyway. So you need to keep on who you got still in the wizard world. And they call each other cousins, even though they're not. So that's how they both have powers. The other theory is that it was an exception to the wizard competition rule, in the sense that Justin was an exception, that Justin got to keep Professor Crumbs' powers. It's possible that Jerry's cousin kept someone else's powers. So it is possible that both of them get to keep their powers, even though they're related in that way. The other video also mentioned at some point that the movie is considered canon, but it is never once mentioned or referenced in the series. That is not true. And now I know I'm being pedantic, but it is referenced once in season 3 when Alex mentions the time that she made her siblings disappear and made her parents forget who she was.
Look, Mason, I've been in shock before too. Like when I accidentally made my brother disappear. Or I accidentally made my parents not know who I was.
Now I get the point of the other video. The movie's not mentioned a lot. They don't talk about it frequently. They don't explicitly state what happened. But it is a canon event. They do mention it once, and I do love that movie. So my last point that I wanted to briefly talk about was Uncle Kelbo, because it is implied in the show, and I'm saying it with my theory, that only the winning family wizard can pass down their powers to their kids. But Uncle Kelbo is technically the wizard with the family powers. He didn't win the wizard competition, though. Jerry did. Jerry just gave his powers to Kelbo when he married Teresa, who's immortal, and you can't be a wizard and married to a mortal.
Hold on. How come you guys never told us that we had an aunt?
Well, it's because when I won the wizard competition and I gave my powers to Kelbo, she got really mad and said she wanted nothing to do with our family ever again, which is fine with me.
So again, power transfer. Jerry gave his powers to Kelbo. It all works. In that agreement, though, Kelbo clearly agreed, and Kelbo doesn't have kids anyway, so Jerry's kids are able to continue the lineage. They're the ones who get to keep the magic going, and that was all agreed upon, and this all fits into the theory. One last thing, I did after the fact also run into a Reddit post that talks about Uncle Kelbo and how power is transferred between wizards, and it reemphasizes some of the same points I do and seems to back up a lot of what I'm saying here. So I will also link to that post in the description. So that summarizes my thoughts on the wizard competition. There are some other things that were mentioned in the other video, like they hate on Justin a lot, but again, I don't have as much time to go into that. I have a couple reasons off the top of my head why I think some of the hate is undeserved, but not the time. I have my own thoughts, like how I hate Mason, the werewolf boyfriend who's eaten 3 people, or sorry, tried to kill 3 people, or me trying to figure out all the times that Alex saves the world and how I feel like she should get more credit for that, but that's not what I'm looking at right now, so that's all for this video. Thank you.